Taking a look at the popular media over this Labor Day weekend, which I think I might have been out of the loop, wasn't entirely sure it was Labor Day, but we're here after all, and people are flocking to the cinema watching old content. Just goes to show you how good the current crop of things that are out there. The current thing for people to support right now is not all that popular if you take a look at it. Okay, number one, depending on what metric you want to use, but it's either Spider-Man No Way Home, which came out at the end of last year. Alright, well, it was re-released this weekend, okay, with a bunch of deleted content in it as well, and there was a demand that was there, okay, because it was the highest grossing film. I'm pretty sure it was the highest grossing film of 2021, so it just got released again for another kick at the can because, hey, there was demand for it, which, hey, congratulations, that's fantastic. A lot of people like it. Or, if that wasn't number one, it was Top Gun Maverick, because what, Labor Day? Okay, so it's been in theaters, right? It was number one when it first came out for Memorial Day long weekend. That makes sense. Patriotic film with a bunch of servicemen and women. Terrific, fantastic, number one there. And then it was number one for Independence Day. What, 2 months later? Okay. And now it could very well end up being number one for Labor Day. Like, what the fuck? Nothing ever tracks like this. This is tremendous, fantastic news, okay? I know a lot of people liked, or at least thinks that this Spider-Man, okay, Spider-Man No Way Home, is the best of the current crop of Marvel films, even though it comes out of the Sony studio, because they still have rights to Spider-Man, even though they're kind of working hand in hand because Doctor Strange was in it and whatever. But regardless, Disney doesn't get any of this money, okay? This stays at Sony, and congratulations to them. If only they could just, iron out what they're doing with their fucking video game division, but whatever, totally different animal that's over there. But then again, this is what people care about. And then just taking a look at the top 10 that's out here, because again, I didn't know this was a thing, National Cinema Day, okay? I don't really care about that. $3 tickets apparently at AMC theaters, and people are just packing the cinema for, well, just good old-fashioned Americana, good storytelling, good films, okay, like Spider-Man No Way Home, number one, Top Gun Maverick, number two, DC League of Super Pets, the newest film, I guess when it comes to superhero flicks, that's kind of on this list, and it's not even a traditional superhero film. Like, this is an animated joint with dogs and some shit, like, I don't know, it's got the fucking Rock in it or something like that, but it's in its, 6th week, okay, oh, yeah, and taking a look at that, Top Gun Maverick in its 15th week consecutively in the cinema. Spider-Man No Way Home his 29th week with a big drop off in the middle when it wasn't in there. Okay, this is a re-release, so you know what, hey, take that with a grain of salt. You'll especially notice that once we get towards the end of this list, but you're noticing a considerable amount of woke content that's not in here. Bullet Train, which is just kind of like a dumb action film. That's what I've been told. Brad Pitt, he showed up in a dress because he's going through some shit with Angelina Jolie. Totally understand that at this point, but that's number 4. The Invitation, you know what, I might have spoke too soon. I don't know anything about this, okay, but it's in 4th place. And then Beast, don't know anything about that. It's dropping off of locations. Minions, Rise of Gru, because I guess a lot of people like that shit. Hey, take a look at number 8, Thor, Love and Thunder, in its 9th week. Nobody fucking cares. Okay, good. Congratulations. Dragon Ball Super, Superhero. And then fucking Jaws. Like, this isn't a remake of Jaws. This is the 1973 film. Okay, Robert Shaw, Jaws, Steven Spielberg, Jaws. Directed classic. An IMAX global weekend of $1.23 million. The only thing that's on that list that's a Disney property is fucking Thor. Oof. Fucking oof. Where's Lightyear in here? Come on, that came out. But Thor, that was supposed to be one of the biggest releases that's out there. But hey man, support current thing until next current thing comes out. Unless, of course, you actually have something that's compelling that's out there, then hey, by all means, you know what, just go with whatever suits you. But that's what was happening in the cinemas, okay? I just wanted to say, though, come on, guys, just make sure that fits. God damn it, why doesn't it ever fit? That don't make no sense. God damn it. That's better. But yes, the title thing, the one that's in the thumbnail, Lord of the Rings of Power. Let's get it right there, okay? Amazon is claiming a first-day record audience. Yes, 24 25 million people turned out to watch this something or other. Like, come on, take a look at the picture that the Hollywood Reporter is using, okay, to entice people to go watch this. It's just a bunch of homeless folks. Like, I don't know if that's a Lord of the Rings project or downtown San Francisco, okay? Not enough heroin needles around, okay? But they do look like they're tripping on fentanyl, so I forgive you if you're a little bit confused as to the situation, okay? A little bit of background on this. Amazon says the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, still continues to just roll so nicely off the tongue. What a fucking abominable name. Was the biggest series debut ever, and for the first time ever. Oh, another historic first. How adorable. The company's Prime Video streaming service has actually released a viewing tally. Wow, huh, imagine that. I wonder if this will come back to bite them in the ass thanks to any logical conclusions that we can draw a little bit later. The company says 25 million people worldwide watched The Rings of Power on its first day of release. Wow, I'd imagine whatever the 4-day viewing figures will be, because it came out, what, Thursday evening? Okay, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then with holiday Monday as well. I would like to see what all of that is. I'm sure well over, what, 1.some million people fucking watch this nonsense, okay, and be bored out of their skull. But you'd think, as of right now, what we know, 25 million people tuned in on the first day alone. These are the most excited people. These were the people who wanted to watch it, even though there was some kind of spurred campaigns that were out there. Oh, don't hate watch it. Well, if you're going to be reviewing the product, you should probably watch it. But again, I think that whole hate watching thing is kind of blown completely out of proportion, because I wouldn't ever watch something that I don't like. And I think that's also just good life advice. Like, if you don't like something, don't watch it. But if you want to criticize it, if you want to review it, even from just a structural formats, those are the type of reviewers I prefer, instead of, well, it doesn't feel like Tolkien work, or I don't like it because there's black people. I don't think those people actually exist, but they get singled out and have articles written about them. But yes, 25 million, okay, for a series that has very well been pushed by the biggest online retailer, or I think the biggest retailer full stop in the world, okay? Like, it was obviously going to break records. Is anybody really surprised by that? Okay, 25 million. That's a really good figure. Congratulations. We'll just have to see what the drop-off is next Thursday, because we're taking a look at Rotten Tomatoes. And again, wow, since the last time we talked about this, and the last time that I screenshotted it, what was that, Thursday or Friday? Something like that, when we talked about the response. Well, now you can take a look at the user ratings. 16,000 new audience scores that are out there for a 39%. Wow, it dipped on Friday. I'm pretty sure it was Friday. All the way down to about 33%, and it's came up 6%. And the critics' review score is still holding strong at an 84%, which is, hey, not concerning at all whatsoever, even though the audience score continues to bounce around and look not too dissimilar from a Biden approval rating. But you take a look at the scores and the breakdown itself. Wow, out of a 5, okay, out of 16,236 audience reviews, an average of 2.4, so under half. Rotten Tomatoes is a terrible metric to judge if anything's good, okay? Basically, what you can generally go off of is the audience score perception, okay? If it's worthwhile, it'll be above 50 or 60. I don't know how the fuck, whatever it shifts over to being fresh. I think it's 60, okay? And if there's a big discrepancy between the two, that means that it's either incredibly woke or incredibly based. If the audience score is so much higher than the critics score, then you know that you're probably just going to get an apolitical film. It might be crap, but at least it won't have the politics in it. But if you find yourself in a situation like this, where the audience, or when the reviewer score is that much higher than the audience score, there's got to be some eye-rolling moments, quite a few in them, and we're just a couple of episodes into this nonsense. But I wanted to take a look at the audience score itself, okay, because I know that there's been some backlash that's out there, okay, and then a lot of people are just pointing to the fact that, clearly it's just simple review bombing tactics. Like, you take a look at what Mateus S. says. As of 2 episodes up in the air, it is one of the worst TV series I have ever seen. EQ with The Witcher Season 2, equivalent with The Witcher Season 2, Desecration. Okay, that guy gave it a half a fucking star. Okay, so he's clearly pissed off about this show. But I wouldn't necessarily say that's a review bomb, or that's created by a bot or something like that. That is somebody who just didn't like the show, okay? And again, it's 8 episodes, but it could get better, guys. Don't worry, even though if the foundation is made of dog shit and rancid compost, it'll eventually turn around, though. Like, fucking huffing your own farts at this point. Then we got something in Spanish right there. Grande y lustoro coco nada mais. Or maíz. Long and short of it, not good. Oh, here's another bot. Watch the first episode. It seems to be just a contemporary adaptation of a timeless story without, spelling please, regard to the original book. They rewrote, well, it's an adaptation of the appendices, and you can't even really cage in anybody's interpretation of if it's going to be a direct adaptation of the appendices or not. And if you see anybody say, oh, it's supposed to be an adaptation of the Silmarillion, you know that they're retarded and wrong. Anyways, they rewrote the main character of the original stories, apparently more as convenient shortcuts for popular current cultural themes. Yeah, kind of. They're just kind of puppeting the corpse of Galadriel, okay? Because you know her from the trilogy of films, and even her adaptation in The Hobbit, which apparently she had something. I didn't watch the Hobbit films, but I've watched the first 3 films. And yeah, man, if you have a continuity that's out there because you're going to make references to it, and then you're trying to say, no, this is the same Galadriel. She just got all of her fighting out of her system before the Third Age, so it's totally fine. It totally makes sense. Then how do you explain her personality being such a big shift? That don't make no fucking sense. The visuals are great, and it looks expensive, but I probably won't watch more unless I run out of other schlock. Ooh, that's quite condemning for 1 star right there. But hey, man, let's take a look at some of the positive reviews. Oh, Fastosi! I really liked it. Don't know where all the hate comes from. No, of course not. Critical thinking, not exactly her strong point. It got me from beginning to end. Even though everybody that I've been seeing, okay, the big props, okay, the big points of adoration for this television show right now has been sweeping landscapes. A lot of it looks good, okay? Some of the costume design is a little some of the CGI is a little bit excessive and iffy, if you say the best, okay? I've seen one review and a breakdown of one of the opening scenes where Halbrand dips his sword and picks out some origami, and oh boy, is that rough looking. Because normally wet paper kind of droops instead it just goes up like it's an obvious edit tracking on the sword. It's a little tough. Yeah, I don't think anybody's really defending the writing. At least I haven't seen that so far, okay, unless you just completely don't understand. But hey, man, there's a couple of other very positive reviews. Like, there's a 5-star review right there that's definitely good. Oh, and I loved mostly the characters de-sing. Oh, they don't sing? Oh, okay, cool. From Danny Christ. Some pretty obvious review bombing going on here. Oh, okay. This isn't even close to being that bad. Plus, we're only 2 episodes in, and everyone is rushing to tear this down. Of course, classic defense. Classic defense. Oh, we're only 2 episodes into an 8-episode season and a 50-part story overall. Like, why are you judging what you've just seen before? I haven't told an entire story yet. Normally, in order to hook somebody, I don't know if you've been around. I don't know if you've watched any shows before, Danny, specifically. But normally you want to put the hook in first. Normally you want to put some of your best content first. And then you can start to tell your story afterwards. But if it's just a whole bunch of character introductions, a whole bunch of sweeping landscapes, a bunch of nonsensical travel only to retract and travel back down, and that's what you're putting out in your first 2 episodes, which realistically, if you're going to be doing that, and then the rest of them are going to be released weekly sequentially with a reminder of how fucking awful this is, because all of the big planning, all of the stuff was done first and foremost. These 2 episodes were filmed prior to the pandemic, okay, prior to 2020. Everything else happened afterwards with different precautions in place, so that was the best shit that's going to happen. But I wouldn't, approximate Danny has any knowledge of that situation. No. He just sits down and consumes, gets excited for next product in anticipation of consuming next product. But he could have some points here. Okay, so he's clearly defending right now. Oh, it's review bombing and it's not that bad. And you haven't seen the entire series yet. Neither has anybody else. So that justifies your 5-star review because we haven't seen everything else. Okay. Seems like these people out here want to hate the show no matter how it turned out. I understand that many liberties were taken with this series and I only had rights to so much of the source material. But Rings of Power still does a great job of telling the backstory from the franchise. Visually spectacular, and it captures the same magical feeling as the Peter Jackson trilogy. Oh, there you get into something subjective. It's visually spectacular. All right, same talking points once again. Okay, and captures the same epic feeling. Well, I feel like I enjoyed it. Therefore, it's good. Okay. Maybe some of the dialogue and pacing could be improved. Apparently not. You gave it 5 stars. It is a perfect show. Okay. It doesn't detract from the viewing experience enough to make me lose interest, though. I would have only given it 4 stars. This is just to combat the absurdly low and unjustified audience score. So this guy's just running fucking defense for big corporation. Congratulations, okay? You probably also have a Coca-Cola and Mars bar sticker on the back of your Toyota Prius because you're here for everybody. But again, we went through that comment section in order to find anything that could be construed as review bombing. Okay, so instead of just we know our product is shit, okay, and we already have these pieces completely ready for launch, because this one was published on Friday, like not even a full day after release. Okay, they marketed everything on the fact of so you're telling a Lord of the Rings story. How are you guys approaching this? So diverse, so stunning, so brave. It's like, oh, okay, cool. You already know what you're going to be getting. It's like you're hearing, okay, a car coming down the road, off in the distance a little bit. You can hear a rambling engine, timing belt's a little bit off. You know it's going to be a beater. It's the exact same thing that happens when you start to hear people, instead of talk about how good the story is, the places that it's going to be going, the character work that's going to be done. No, look at how inclusive and diverse, and you're going to like it because of that. Not because of the story, okay? Because it looks good and there's black people in it. That's what makes it a good story. So they are already baked in the defenses for the criticism. At least they think so, okay? But if you already knew all of this stuff was going to be criticized to begin with, wouldn't you be using this? This should be a logical take for people inside of the writer's room. If you can immediately come up with a criticism to what you're putting out there, shouldn't you be using that in order to make a better show so that those criticisms would just fall flat on its face so you wouldn't have to be writing these very obvious articles? That's normally what people would do, okay? That's normally what people have done in the past, but no, now you have the opportunity to have one of the biggest shows that's out there, okay? 25 million people on the first day watch this thing. It's a streaming record, even though it's the first time that you've ever put out any sort of viewing figures, but okay, fine, whatever. I'll just take it at face value on this one. But no, you can have a smash hit success, and then you can also play the victim card, okay? And you can also call all of your detractors, you can simply hand wave them away because they're racists and bigots. Oh my god, please, just all of the victimhood, all of the different endorphins that are coming in my way, because oh my god, you get to play all the fucking cards. How adorable. Let's read a little bit of this because it's a big old article. Okay. For a time, it seemed as though a great shadow had passed over the world and then faded. Ugh, god, just get to the fucking point already. Still present, though, not quite as ominous. There were those who confidently believed that they were seeing progress, a fantasy, perhaps, but not without one value. Yet, there were those who sought to cover them in the shadow, to hide their own insecurities, failings, uselessness. You're not getting to the fact that, hey, we wrote a really good story, and the fact that there's black people in it really doesn't much matter that much. Oh, except for you're desecrating the source material when there's somebody who's completely described, or a race of people who are described as having fair skin, and then you just decide, no, you're just going to like the fact that there's black people here, and that they're just going to go ahead and champion their blackness, and you're just going to sit there and fucking enjoy it. Okay, they cannot conceive the endless potential of progress, right? Even though it was written by a guy who self-described himself as being kind of a person who was out of time, who conceived the idea of Middle Earth with specific ideas in mind. But how could he be doing this? In the 20s, 30s, and 40s, writing down all of his work, how could he possibly have conceived of the idea of progressive ideology coming through in this current incarnation? Because the word progressive, back in those times, okay, that was the times of FDR, Theodore Roosevelt as well, okay? That progressivism, way different than 21st century ideals. He would have had no conception of that. And his son knew this very well and fought to maintain the integrity of his father's work. And now his Professor Tolkien's grandchildren are just, fucking trying to cash a check at this point. But no, if you thought this was such a great idea, why didn't you go ahead with production while Christopher Tolkien was still alive? You could just go ahead and answer that. No. Once again, we can't play the victim card if we would have just did that. They could not conceive the endless potential of progress. Miserable little trolls left stewing in their own ugly ignorance. See, now we can just desecrate the fan base. The 25 million people, the record-breaking amount of people to turn out. It's funny, you couldn't even conceive, or you couldn't even convince 1% of people to turn out. Okay, if you thought you had such a good show here, 1% of that population, 250,000 people, couldn't turn out and give you positive reviews on that? Interesting. But yes, miserable little trolls stewing in their own ugly ignorance and hatred, who sought regression to prove too incompetent to succeed, even when emboldened by the lies from their weakened leader. And who is that exactly? Is this somehow Trump's fault? Because that would just be icing on this fucking shit pie. Could very easily be discussing Middle Earth, but I'm not. We know. What I'm discussing is our very real world. Who is this fucking loser anyways? Richard Newby, and you are... Here are some of his other works from Hollywood Reporter. She-Hulk has broken Marvel's illusion of change. Is that a pro twerking scene fucking thing? I don't even know what to do with that. I would talk about it, but it's like, okay, cool. In the first episode, she talked about how it's so tough being catcalled, and then she's twerking in a law office in front of a glass window with Meg the Stallion, who, again, I've got to talk about her legal situation, the fact that she has Trey Songz in jail for the fact that she said that she was shot in the foot, even though all the lacerations that were treated were just glass lacerations on her foot. Oopsie daisy. How She-Hulk could be a World War Hulk movie, whatever, and Batgirl debacle pushes DC back once again. Yeah, this guy's a progressive scum activist. I understand. Okay. For the past week, I've been bombarded with messages of hate, called the N-word, told to go back to Africa. You write articles, dude. You have nothing to do with this fucking project, okay? Are you trying to leech off of the supposed review bombing that's happening here? Oh my god. And called on to be executed. The reason, the Lord of the Rings. It would be almost laughable if it wasn't so profoundly sad. Then why don't you just post any receipts that are out there? No, it's just easier to say I've been called the N-word. I've been told to go back to Africa. What? Get an old message from Abe Lincoln. Hey, we set up Liberia. You should probably take him up on that offer. Like, what the fuck? A wealth of stories and a willingness to believe in wizards, balrogs, giant spiders, and magical swords. Yeah, that's fine. That sounds like source material. It's almost like there's a lot of people who actually like the source material of this and not what happened after the fact. Okay. But allow people of color to exist in Middle Earth? Yeah, don't make no sense, but I don't see a lot of complaining about this, but then again, I don't search out the incredibly negative stuff. I got better shit to do with my time. Well, that is an affront to all that's good and decent. Does it make it a better story because there's new representation that's in it? I don't really know about that, but okay. How about, because consider you like to write about Marvel films, right, Richard? Okay. Dick. We'll just call you Dick here, just between friends. What if instead, and I know the new Black Panther film is I think it's coming out in November, right around the corner right there. What if a last minute edit, okay, because there's going to be a new Black Panther because Chadwick Boseman, a couple of years ago, so they need a new Black Panther. What if we just go ahead and cast Mel Gibson? You know what? Hey, why don't we just go out there and we just put in Henry Cavill. We know that he doesn't have a Superman role anymore. That would be perfect for casting, right? Huh? How about that? A little bit of diversity in there. No, you might have a little bit of a problem with that now, wouldn't you? Of course, because it only works in one fucking direction. Make a man a woman, make a white guy a black guy. But it can never go in the other direction? Can we just go ahead and fucking address that? No, don't worry about it. People are mad. Black people exist, okay? Back in the old days, we used to just call them Democrats. Well, that is an affront to all that's good and decent. At least the primary argument for those ruinous trolls apparently review bombing. And again, ruminous trolls. Again, if people actually like the show, why couldn't you convince a fraction of a percentile of people to go out there and do the opposite of it if you think that the show is so good? And harassing fans of color over Amazon's Rings of Power series. Oh yes, because the people can now finally relate to the stories of Tolkien because they see themselves on screen. Oh yay, Black Hobbit, therefore I like the story more. Yeah, I don't quite think so. I think a lot of people, like a lot of fucking people, enjoyed the 3 Lord of the Rings films, okay? I think you look at historic works of art, okay? Take a look. Godfather. I don't remember. Oh, there was one reference to blacks. They could keep all the drugs. Like, and outside of that, people love that film, right? James Bond. Yep, James Bond. Skyfall. Yep, that was a pretty good film. Goodfellas. Stax was a fun character. He fell asleep in The Getaway. But that's a weird take, saying that just because there's representation in a show, okay, and people, these apparent trolls that are out there, okay, that just live in your head, right, and they probably all vote for Trump, right, of course, they are specifically targeting fans of color. That's just odd, okay, because right now it looks like you're doing the attacking right here by saying that they're all ugly, evil trolls, and you're saying this like it's something exclusive to you? Like, what are you doing here? I've been a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's world for almost as long as I can remember. I grew up watching Rankin and Bass's The Hobbit 1977 animated feature, The Return of the King 1980 on repeat. Okay, cool. So you're an old school fan, so you should know why this adaptation is fucking horseshit. But no. I see black people and I clapped. When it was time for school book fairs, the class's early adopters, the Tolkien's works. Okay, cool. Not just The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, but The Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, History of Middle-earth. I did my 5th grade book report on C.S. Lewis and his friendship with Tolkien when Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings 1978 was re-released on VHS. My mom took me to the store to buy it, and on the day it was released. Cool, I did the same thing with Space Jam. But again, we're of different times, apparently. But again, you're not alone on this. And we talked about this just way back in a couple videos ago at this point. This is a devoted fan base, okay? People understand the source material. People have read the appendices, okay? The journal letters, okay? The back and forth between everybody that Tolkien was in contact with at the time. They study this shit. They know it inside and out, and that's why they don't like the fucking show. Race has nothing to do with it. You go online, you check the different communities, okay? You will find every color under the rainbow represented within the fandom. Like, it's not what you're spinning it out to be. But I understand what you're doing here. I don't appreciate it because you're being disingenuous. This work, okay, the Lord of the Rings, all of it in totality, Tolkien's work is translated in just about every fucking language you can think of. So in understanding that, why would you pick this certain niche, okay, in good faith? I'm assuming this is in good faith, even though reading it, you can just kind of draw your own conclusions. That's clearly not the case. You're just trying to play victim on this one. I've been a fan of, Tolkien's blah, blah, blah. Okay, I went to middle school, spent my bus rides listening to Lord of the Rings on audio cassettes. Yeah, that's all nice and shit. Defined my adolescence, Star Wars, it's okay, and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Fellowship of the... I don't care, dude. Okay, you're a long-term fan. That's fantastic. At this point, I've heard every argument in the book against why cast members Eleni Hendry, Ismael Cruz, Cordova, Nancy Bono... Well, I don't care. All the black and fucking brown people. Wonderful, fantastic. And Sophia Nomvti shouldn't play Harfoots, elves, dwarves, or even humans in Middle-earth where Amazon's series is set. Yeah, and you should know all of the arguments for and against that, okay? The realm of man, according to my interpretation of the source material, is where you can kind of play around when it comes to race specifically. But elves have pretty clear and defining characteristics. Dwarves do as well. And so do the hobbits, okay? The only reason that they can't be called hobbits and they need to be called Harfoots is because they don't have the rights to that. So yeah, no, these are the descendants of the hobbits, okay? The most common refrain is that Tolkien didn't include people of color in his stories. Yeah, not only is this untrue as Harfoots were described as having browner skin, darker skin. Again, you're just selecting one word and putting quotation marks around that. If you could actually provide the source, I would take your interpretation of events a little bit more seriously. So again, I think you're acting in bad faith right there. But Tolkien didn't often make a point to describe skin color. Okay, cool. Because he didn't do something, that means we can do it. Terrible argumentation. Though he occasionally leaned on the open-ended fairer than. How's that open-ended? Okay, fair. During the time that he was writing this, okay, with the style of the time, okay, fair-skinned. Everybody knows what fair-skinned means. It means white skin, all right? And a browner skin as a man from Britain, you know that he means Mediterranean folks, like Greeks and Italians, right? Oh, okay. Yet there remains the idea that Tolkien sought to create an English mythology that he invented Middle-earth to be only comprised of white people. Well, again, if you know the source material as well as you do, okay, he comprised the mythology of Middle-earth, yeah, and he based it off of England. Did you happen to know Benjamin Disraeli, okay, one of the most renowned prime ministers in British history? Yeah, he was kind of a darker skinned Jew, so how do you reconcile that? And that was way back in the cut. Tolkien would have been very, very aware of him, so you just go ahead and continue to punch your ghosts out there, right? This ignores the individual of color that have populated England throughout its history. Again, if you could have just gone out there and cited anything else, because you've used one word as a quotation for justification for your position, you apparently know all the source material, so somebody's being disingenuous here. It ignores the individuals of color who have populated England throughout its history. And the first modern Britons had dark skin. Oh my god, we was kings. We all came from Africa. Okay, then cool. How do you go ahead and reconcile the oldest human remains in Norway that were found? Oopsie daisy. Based on DNA evidence taken from the Cheddar Man, has 10,000 years ago skeleton discovered in 1903. Okay, cool. So because there was apparently a brown man from back in 1903, that means that any new findings that are out here. Oh, okay, cool. But then just go ahead and reconcile the Normans coming in and fucking dog walking everybody who was in Britain in the 1100s. You just go ahead and figure that one out, and then they established the modern United Kingdom. Just go ahead and try to figure that shit out. Okay, I'll just wait. But again, it just harkens back to the indigenous conversation, so now you can work in colonialism on top of a racist backlash that we still haven't got to yet. He's just out. This dude's just punching air, and we're supposed to take him seriously. Oh, if anything, Rings of Power had the opportunity to be more inclusive in future seasons. Yeah, we don't know. It's not done yet, so why are people hating on it, or their fan base, or the detractors that are out there? There's still so much story to tell. Well, the cast features black, Latino. I don't know what MENA is. Is that MENA adjacent? They got aliens in this? Cool. And Pacific Island actors. Awesome. Is The Rock going to make a cameo? There is, as of now, a lack of Asian performers. Oh my god. How do Asian people enjoy this now? Oh, Chinese-British executive producer, Lundy Lin. Well, I'm sorry, Lundy Lin's an actress, and there's a Chinese-British executive producer. Okay, I'm just gonna fucking cut this off right here, because if not, I'd end up cutting myself. This is another reason why you don't kowtow to these people, because it's never fucking enough. You could represent everybody under the rainbow, but then you'd start whining and complaining because there's no Harfoots walking around with crutches, okay? Everybody's able-bodied. Take a look at Galadriel. She climbed an ice wall in one of the first scenes that are out there. Okay, I know people who can't do that, and then that's just exclusionary to those people as well. And why are the elves so tall? What about the short elves? Why do they live so long? I knew people who didn't live so long. My parents died. Can somebody please feel bad for me? That's exactly the cycle that you create by pandering to these assholes. If you just keep a stiff upper lip, stay true to the source material. If you had 25 million people turn out for something that they liked, something with such an ingrained fan base who understands the material, because there's no comparison between anything else that's out there and the Tolkien folks. They know this shit inside and out. Rings of Power ain't it. And hey man, they're going to be reminded of all this fucking nonsense week after week, at least for the next 7 weeks. So I'm just waiting for the next hit piece to come out. I ain't watching this shit. I just like to see the reaction that's out there and the hypocrisy that's coming out in real fucking time, because a lot of people are watching this. I'm gonna see what the drop off is going to be next week. The people who are watching it and who are bored out of their tree, and then everybody's like, oh no, it's good, except for the black people and the people that were mad at seeing all the black people that were on the screen. Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like, no, I watched it and it was just fucking dog water. This is another one of those instances where people are just reaching a little too far, and it's going to end up piercing the narrative veil. Oh well, sucks to suck. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.